So, today we're going to talk about training on low time. Basically, a lot of people have full-time jobs, university, have a busy business that they have to run, and they don't really have the time to be in the gym 5 or 6 days a week in like 1.5 hours per session. So in this video, I'll teach you exactly how to build muscle with very minimal time. So to start this, we have to first define what low time means. So in my opinion, low on time means you can work out maximum 2 to 3 days a week, and you also have maximum you have maximum 1 hour per session, probably even less, maybe like 45 minutes or whatever. So I want to remind you, it's not over. It doesn't matter how little time you have. It's not over, and you can make anything work if you have enough will and you're willing to put in the work and plan correctly. So, what split to run? First question. So, like I said, this is probably for people who have 2 days a week or 3 days a week. However, if you have 4 days a week, but you can only do like 40 minutes per session, this is also gonna count for you. However, I didn't make the split for you. You can watch my other video on workout splits where I explain perfect workout splits for 4 days a week, but let's just move on with the 2 and 3 days. So, 2 days. If you have 2 days a week that are non-consecutive, for example, Tuesday and Friday, you should do full body. Very simply, full body, easy to remember, great for beginners. So, quick interruption guys, if you didn't already know, I actually have an online program. It's called Skinny to Jacked Academy. And it's my online community where I teach skinny men how to build muscle efficiently without much equipment and time. And in my program we stick to the basics, and I actually focus on what works and what has worked for me, as you can see. And by joining, you'll have access to lots of things, like one weekly one-on-one coaching call with me, where we will discuss your progress, your routines, etc. Also, you can ask me any kind of questions. I'll help you out, no problem. You're gonna get a personalized workout routine and split based on your specific schedule. I'm gonna make this personally for you. Basically, you're gonna show me your schedule, and I will craft a split and routine that works for you. It does not matter even if you have twice a week, 20 minutes, it doesn't matter, we can make something work. Also, you're gonna have a forum where you can ask any sort of question and you're gonna get it answered very quickly, I promise that. You also have PDFs with sample stuff like recipes for gaining muscle and example workouts for your level of equipment. Basically, if you train at home with no equipment, if you have a fully equipped gym, or if you have everything, right? So, let's get back to the video. If you have 2 consecutive days a week, so example would be Saturday and Sunday. Then you do push and quads and pull and hamstrings. However, I have to remind you, please try everything you can to not be in this category. Because to grow muscle optimally, you want to be able to train every muscle twice a week. So please do everything in your power to at least get Friday and Sunday, or Thursday and Saturday, but not Saturday and Sunday. If you have to, fine, you're gonna make it work. However, please try and not have it. So, 3 days a week. If you have 3 days a week that are non-consecutive, for example, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, you can just do full body. Full body, 3 times a week. Amazing split. So, if you have 3 consecutive days, for example, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I suggest you do upper, lower, upper. So, I assume that you're a guy, and training legs once a week, in my opinion, is enough, simply because to build an aesthetic body, big legs are not really a requirement. However, they still obviously should be trained in some way or form, right? So if you have 3 days, but 2 of those are consecutive, you should do full body, push-pull, in my opinion. That means the following. Let's say you have Wednesday, Saturday, and Sunday. What you do is you do full body, push, and pull. That way you have the upper body muscles twice a week and the lower body muscles once a week, which is enough, right? So, now that we covered the splits, let's actually move on how to structure your workouts to be time efficient. So, every workout should follow the following structure. Warm up, compound movements, isolation, and then at the end you do a small cool down. So if you're low on time, you can skip. I would actually recommend you highly to skip isolation. I know that your arms might not get as big as they could potentially be. However, if you do compound movements heavily enough with enough intensity, your arms are gonna grow. They're gonna grow, and you're gonna have somewhat big arms. However, like I said, you're low on time and you have to make the best on it. So if you're very low, just skip isolation. It's not that important. However, you cannot skip a warm up and a cool down, especially the warm up. Very simply, just do some joint preparation, and then you do a lighter version of the exercise that you are about to do to warm up your muscles. As a cool down, I would recommend you do hanging or any kind of stretching. So let's move on. So what is very important is that you focus heavily on compound movements. Compound movements are basically movements that target more than one muscle group. An example would be the push-up. The push-up targets the chest, the front delts, and the triceps. Push-up are a great example of compound movements. Same thing with pull-ups. They target lats, rhomboids, lower traps, rear delts, biceps, forearms, whatever, name it. So you pick 1 to 2 pull movements, 1 to 2 push movements, and 1 to 2 leg movements. If you have super little time, pick 1. So if you only have like 40 minutes per session or 30 minutes per session, pick 1. One compound movement for each of those. If you pick 2, make sure they're in different planes of motion except legs. Now, I have a video on planes of motion. Basically, you have the frontal, sagittal, and transverse plane. And especially with the pull movements, you want to make sure that you have them in different planes. So you have a sagittal plane pull and a frontal plane pull, or you have a transverse plane pull and a sagittal plane pull, or a frontal. Depends on what you like. Basically, out of the 3 planes, choose 1. I have a video about that on my channel. I might link it at the end, so you can go and watch that, and you can see how you can minimize muscle redundancy with that. Basically, if you pick 2, make sure they're in different planes of motion, except the legs, simply because the main compound movements for the legs are in the sagittal plane. It's just what it is. But for legs, this doesn't really matter that much, because squats and RDLs are both sagittal plane, but they target very different muscle groups. So you do 2 sets each per exercise, and you perform them till failure. Right? This is very important. Intensity is always more important than volume or quantity when it comes to working out, right? So you want to do 3 minutes of rest in between those sets to make sure that in the next set you can perform your best and you can, push to failure and progress, right? So now I'm gonna get to the best exercises, like practically the best exercise compound movements that you can do, right? Dips or weighted dips, amazing in my opinion, everyone should do them. Any dumbbell or bench press variation, any push-up or weighted push-up variation. Now, if that's with a deficit push-up, a normal push-up, a ring push-up, doesn't really matter. Any pull-up or weighted pull-up, I would recommend either the neutral grip or the wide grip. Simply, neutral grips, very simply, it's the most joint friendly, and you're working in the sagittal plane. Now, with the wide grip, it's a frontal plane pull, but you have to be careful. When you choose a wide grip pull-up, please do them on a cambered bar. Basically, a bar that isn't completely straight, a bar that has like things at the end it goes kind of down, because that is actually the way healthier for your joints. Doing a wide grip pull-up on a straight bar might cause issues around your shoulder, so you want to avoid. If you only have a straight bar, avoid the super wide grip, please. Or you can use rings. Then we have barbell rows, normal grip or reverse grip, depends on what you want to focus on. Normal grip is going to be a bit more upper back, reverse grip would be more lats. So then any squat variation, whether that be sissy squats, normal squats, or Cossack squats, and obviously the Romanian deadlift. Those are, in my opinion, the best compound movements you can do. Now, you could add lat pull-downs instead of weighted pull-ups, depends on what your preference is, but I would recommend pull-ups or weighted pull-ups, depends on how strong you are, right? So, now let's look at an example workout. So, 2 sets of weighted dips, 2 sets of incline dumbbell press, 2 sets of wide grip pull-ups, 2 sets of reverse barbell rows, 2 sets of squats, and 2 sets of RDLs. If you want to copy this workout, the total time would be 48 minutes, however without the warm-up. So with the warm-up it would be about, in warm-up and cooldown it's going to be about 50, maybe 55, maybe 52 minutes, but definitely less than 1 hour. How I calculate this very simple. Each set takes 1 minute, I assumed that, and you take 3 minutes of rest between those sets. So that's how you end up getting a time of 48 minutes, right? So like I said, when you have low time, you want to make sure that you do a little amount of sets, but with high intensity, because that's going to drive growth, especially if you go to failure, because then you don't have to do as many sets. It's fine if you do less sets when you go to failure, right? So now another hacks to save time. Simply work out at home. If you can afford the equipment, why? For most people, let's say your workout takes 50 minutes, right? You have to pack your gym bag, you have to go to the gym, you have to put on your gym shoes or whatever, you have to find the equipment, you have to find the equipment that you want to do and stuff. You have to, after that, you have to drive back or go back from the gym, depends on. And the whole process can basically can add another 50 minutes on top, right? So if your workout is 50 minutes, you're gonna have another 50 minutes for before and after. So like 25 minutes before, 25 minutes after to go to the gym, to get checked into the gym, to put on your shoes. So if you can afford the the equipment, let's say pull-up bars, weights, whatever, I would highly recommend you to work out at home if your goal is to work out in a time-efficient way where you save time, right? Second one would be supersets. Now, be careful with this, and please don't do too many supersets. I would recommend you to do like max one, like 2 supersets per workout. When I say two, I'm talking 2 exercises together that you would normally do, right? So basically you pair one push exercise with one pull exercise without rest and treat it as one set. So an example would be, you go from incline dumbbell press to barbell rows. Then you take your normal 3 minutes of rest, and then you go again. You go from incline dumbbell press straight to barbell rows. Now basically you've done 2 exercises in one set, which is a massive time saver. However, I would only recommend this to do it with 2 exercises per workout. Don't do everything in a superset, because that's gonna fatigue your central nervous system too much, and you won't be able to push as hard as you can on your next set, right? And this works very simply because your pull muscles are not fatigued from push movements, or your push muscles, or in this case your push muscles are not fatigued from pull movements. So that's how it works, right? Basically, when you train off opposite muscle group in one superset, the the one that's not being used is currently resting. So yeah, if you have very little time, you can implement this, but be careful with it. Don't do it too much. So overall, in conclusion, pick a workout split that fits your schedule and that you can do consistently and progress with consistently. Don't try to force yourself to work out 4 times a week if you can actually only work out twice a week. It's better to have 2 focus sessions a week that are high intensity than to have 4 sessions a week that are kind of not really focused, not really high intensity and whatever. Basically 2 bad sessions. So try to work out every muscle twice a week, please. This is very important. Try everything in your power that you aren't in this 2 days a week consecutive schedule where you can only work out Saturdays and Sundays. If you have to, fine, but please try and not be in that category, even if that means that one day you wake up earlier and you train before work or school or whatever, and do compound movements only if you have very little time. Now if you have a little bit more time, you can maybe afford to do some ladder raises or to do some bicep curls or whatever, but generally speaking, focus heavily on compound movements and focus on progressing them over a long time. So that's it for today's video. Please leave a like and comment, and tell me what you want me to do a video about next. I'll make also some polls on my channel and you can decide, right? Comment what you want to see. Bye.